So here we are back in the sale room, 2019, and it's a new season starting over from scratch. And also we're back on familiar format with these videos. We're back into this is the first sale preview of 2019. So hopefully we'll see out a full year together, what it's like inside a family auction house on this YouTube channel. So just before we get started, just wanted to talk about the end part of last year. We had 3 videos out of normal format, and I really enjoyed making all of those. It was a little bit trickier not having the sale content to fall back on. But the first one was the contest. I've got this up YouTube up there. It was titled Auctioneers Become Antique Dealers, so where the 3 of us, Jamie, Dad and me, challenged one another to raise money for charity. And that had 506 views, so if you came over and watched that, thanks ever so much. Also, if you donated money to either of the 2 charities on the Just Giving page, I'll flash up everybody's name below, so thank you so much for doing that. We've had a flyer through from Rain Rescue, and they say thank you for raising £287.50. We did about the same for Bluebell Wood, so hard work for us and enjoyable, and you all did such an amazing job donating, so thank you again. Those Just Giving pages are still live, so if you did view the video and haven't donated and still want to do so, you can still do that, and the money sort of trickle feeds through to those charities. Did the Roach Abbey video, of course. That was an interesting one, and a lot of people spoke to me and said how it's an important place for them as well, so good to share that. And then finally there was the Ivory Band. That was something I was really nervous and scared about talking about. I was worried about making that video, but went ahead and did it all the same. Got quite a few good views, so that was good. Highlighted that issue. Let's have a little look at that. Yeah, almost on 300 views, but what's that? Somebody's left a dislike. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to leave likes only. Anyway, I think somebody must have a few quid tied up in ivory. But no, all joking apart, I think having people dislike the content, that's fine. Everybody's got an opinion, and to me it's actually good news. It shows that the channel's breaking out of the comfort of friends, family and customers, that, you know, regular customers. We're getting out there into the wide web, and not everybody's going to like what you do, and that's fair enough. Last of all, the channel broke that milestone of 200 subscribers. Let's have a look what we're on. Yeah, now on 206 subscribers, so to all of you out there that have subscribed and watch the videos every week, thank you so much. It all makes this all worthwhile. So anyway, let's head into the sale room and do the sale preview. A lot that I've chosen to talk about first in this weekend sale is these 10 copper coins in the cabinet. Now, if you're viewing the sale and you're skimming through the jewellery cabinet and you're not really into coins, you'd be forgiven for thinking they're just 10 ordinary boring pennies. But that's not the case. They're actually minted in 1808 for the East India Trading Company. The East India Trading Company was founded in the year 1600 and was given a royal charter by Queen Elizabeth I, which basically gave them a trading monopoly around the region of the Indian Ocean. The company became responsible for about half the world's trade with the East. So ordinary commodities, things like tea, silk, spices, even porcelain from the Qing dynasty of China a little later on. Towards the end of the 18th century, obviously the East India Trading Company is becoming incredibly powerful. And you might have seen the drama Taboo, starring Tom Hardy. I mean, that portrayed some of the darker sides of the East India Trading Company's dealings. And they moved from commodities, well, doing commodities as well, to actually starting to colonize these areas and start take over and start to govern, looking at territory. So they're really getting big and powerful. And by 1803, they took control of nearly all of the Indian subcontinent. And their army, in fact, almost doubled the size of the British army. And in that early 19th century, the company had their own currency minted for use in the colonies. Now, these coins are all of the same denomination, and they were all minted in 1808. Each coin on the obverse side has the coat of arms of the East India Trading Company with its Latin motto below, which reads Auspicio Regis et Senatus Anglia, which translates to by the authority of the King and Parliament. Now on the reverse side, it's got the value of the coin written in Persian, and this translates to 10 cash make 2 phallus. Phallus is the currency of Morocco, and below that it's stamped X cash or 10 cash. So this is the denomination of these coins. Now they're all made of copper, and they were engraved by John Philip, as far as we know, minted at the Soho Mint in London. What's doubly interesting about these coins, they actually come with a bit of provenance, a bit of backstory, so we know some of their history. They're rumoured to be from a ship from the Admiral Gardner, which was a East Indiaman. Now the term East Indiaman is the term for any ship that would have been under licence by the East India Trading Company to make these voyages back and front with these commodities. The Admiral Gardner was launched in 1797 and actually made 5 voyages in total for the East India Company. On her 6th voyage for the East India Trading Company, she was bound for Madras, which actually sunk in the Goodwin Sands. Now this was in 1809, just 1 year after these 10 coins were minted. And in the ship's log it was said that amongst her cargo was a large number of East India Company 10 and 20 cash coins belonging to Matthew Bolton, who was the proprietor of the Soho Mint. And all these coins, they're not particularly beautiful to look at, they're not great display items, but they are just so interesting. They link to a part of our history, and when you hold them in your hand and look at them and think about that point in time, what would it have been like to be around there? They just speak to you, and they're certainly a good and interesting talking point. But it's worth noting they're not particularly rare. They were minted in huge quantities, and certainly when this ship sank, the Admiral Goodwin, in about the 1980s, these coins were brought back and from the wreck and then were put on the market. So there's lots of them on the market. So I think for the 10 coins, we're probably going to end up between 40 and 80 pounds. So the reason I wanted to feature them is because I wanted to show that not everything that is interesting is valuable. And you can also reverse that. Not everything that's valuable is interesting. So for the next item, it's the wishlist feature. Now that's the feature of this channel where I talk about and show the item that's had the most interest in the sale online on saleroom.com. What I really love and I'm enjoying about this feature is it pushes me to look at items I often wouldn't normally look at. So I'm having to do extra research, and already since September I've learned all sorts just by trying to research things for this channel, and hopefully it makes the channel a little bit more interesting so I'm not just featuring porcelain all the time. Now what's different this week is there's been 2 objects that have been vying for the top spot all day long, and at the moment they're both tied with 13 watches apiece, just being online for 1 day. So the first one we'll look at is this little collection of miniature bisque dolls and teddy bears. So certainly not something that I would normally be interested in, but they are very cute. They're carrying an original catalogue estimate of only 15 to 30. And remember in the past those 15 to 30 objects have really shown promise. There was the Miner's Lamp and the Beatles poster, both estimated 15 to 30, made well into £3,000. These I don't think are going to go that far, but once I saw the watches go up, I started to do a little bit more research, and I found they were actually made by Hertwig & Co., which were a German manufacturer. So I'm pretty sure they were made in the very early part of the 20th century, probably 1900 to 1920. And this factory made all kinds of output. They made copies of the Goldscheider Art Deco figures, but what they seem to be most popular for is full-size dolls and also these miniatures. So they made them in human form, they made miniature bears, miniature rabbits, and I've also seen some miniature ducks. But I think these little outfits, these little crocheted outfits they've got, I think they're original to the factory, and when you start to look around online, you see they've all got this same sort of hand crocheted attire, so very well made. All the joints are on these little pins, so the arms and legs move around independently of the body. So really are well made. You do have to appreciate them once you start to look at them. So I think because of the very small size, they're obviously very collectible. They're quite easy to display. But I think as toys, quite dangerous. A little bear like this would be quite a choking hazard. Now the largest bear, this bear's got a little chip on his paw, so a little bit of damage there, and he also doesn't have that crocheted attire. But we've got 2 bears there with their outfits, and also 2 human figures with their outfits. I don't think the human figures are quite as collectible as the animals in miniature, but I've seen one in really good condition with its original clothing. It can make around £100. So I'm going to up the estimate for this little gang £100 to £200. So in direct competition with those miniature little German bisque teddy bears and dolls, you couldn't really get much different. And it's this British 1821 pattern Royal Infantry sword. Now swords again, and any edge weapons, military, not really my direct interest. I am interested in them, more so than dolls and teddy bears, but not really up on them per se. So I took the opportunity today during the viewing to speak with one of our regular customers who's really into his swords and guns, and we had a little chat about this sort of thing, and he gave me a few pointers. Now I thought, when it came in, I thought definitely would be an officer's sword. Now the regimental dress, it would be required for an officer to have a sword like this as part of his uniform, and he'd be personally responsible for outfitting himself, so would have to pay for the sword. But when we started talking about it, there's a few things that point to it maybe not being an officer's sword. It could just be a trooper's sword. But then again, there's details on it that suggest not, so we're not really sure. It's either an officer's sword of the Royal Artillery or a trooper's sword. And what's a bit strange about it, there's no maker's name at all on the blade. Often you'd see something stamped there, Wilkinson sword, for example. We know them nowadays for razors, but of course they used to make swords, military swords. But the blade is completely bare. There's no maker's mark. What you'd often see on military swords as well is the blade is very decoratively etched with the name of the regiment and you know, lots of ornamentation on there, but it's completely plain. So one thing comes to mind is the blade original? Well, it's certainly got its original polish, so I don't think that etching for whatever reason has been removed. Say for example if the blade had become badly pitted. So the blade, I'm pretty sure, is original. So the other question is, has the blade been swapped out? Well, we need to look there at the pommel, and it doesn't look like it's been messed about with. It's very, very smooth. So I think it's been in that position all of its life. So at the pommel, it's never been removed from the tang, so the blade's never come out. Nice and smooth, and also it fits really well. There's no wiggle at all to that blade. It's firmly fixed within the hilt. So we can say with almost absolute confidence that the blade is original to the hilt. There's no marriage there. So why is it so plain? That is what makes you think it's possibly a trooper's sword. Or could it be, I thought, because the officer is responsible for outfitting himself, maybe this officer in particular didn't want to splash out for all this embellishment on the blade. He saw this as a tool of war and just wanted a plain, no-nonsense weapon. Perhaps. And one thing this chap I spoke to today in the viewing, what he said was, if it was a trooper's sword, it's unusual for it to have this thread engraving on the hilt there, and also this wire work and this leather mounting on the grip. So it's somewhere in between officer's and trooper's sword. But apart from this one little crack there on the hilt, it's in remarkably good condition. As we said, the blade is nicely firmly fixed. There's no real pitting or damage to the blade. The scabbard's free from dents. They certainly belong to one another. So lovely condition, nice antique sword. I think it'll probably go between £100 and £200. So that's the first sale preview of 2019. I think we looked at 3 really interesting lots this week. And what I did want to ask you, if you watch this vlog and you also come to the auction and you buy any lots that are ever included in a sale preview, and you wouldn't mind being a part of the vlog and talking about what you've bought and how that fits into your story, and if you're a collector or if you're a dealer and what you plan on doing, I'd really like to include that. I think it'd make a good and interesting facet to this vlog and show what it's like, another area of what it's like inside a family auction house. So all you need to do, if you do buy something, you can either email me, you can come and see me in the sale room, or you can call the sale room and ask for me. I'll never contact anybody or put anybody on the spot in the sale room that buys something. So if you're interested in doing that, making an interview, then yeah, just get in touch. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, leave a like, not a dislike, remember, don't like those. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel, click the red button below. There's a new video every single Saturday, Have a really great week, and I'll see you in 7 days. Another year's beginning already. Time's moving so fast. And that's the first viewing of the year done. I wonder how these Monday sales are going to pan out. I hope we haven't made a mistake. I wonder what I could do for a living if this didn't quite pan out. I'm sure it'll all be right. It is important to get that home life work balance just right. We'll find out on Monday.